Плато. Куда деваться, кому сейчас такое? Вот тянул, блин, сразу надо было. Прямиком. Вот это он, да. Куда деваться? Есть куда деваться, но все время подумаю. Хорошо, мы это видим. Да, вот. Я горд, я горд, что тогда вот это. Ну, нет, вот это, вот это было. Вот это было как раз, не знает никто, это надо было оплатить просто тебе. Ну, как бы нет, ну ладно, тут, ничего не говорит. Эй, реакция слишком глубоко. Все там уже все закрыто, ставки. Какая мне нахер разница? Ну нет, ну я понял. Нет, ты что, не понимаешь, что ли? Да, ты занимаешься, у тебя фортепиано есть, нагрузка пока самостоятельная, самонагрузка, так сказать, или как ты слышишь. Это не важно, да, я понял. То есть, короче, да, то есть документ у тебя есть. Как бы, как они утверждают, они ведь не могут врать, правильно? То есть это аккредитация на всю жизнь. То есть, ну, то есть как вот ты диплом получил, такой же, но только это диплом, конечно, не полноценный, но как бы, да, высшее образование, да. Не, наверное, так можно и заочку получить нормальную, я уверен тоже в этом, да. Ну, ты просто там тебя драть будут, наверное, он тебя понял, да. Меня не касается. Это уже, ну, на себе так говорил. Это все понятно, это уже другое. То есть, все, ты уже это самое, нет, что-то значит, на тебе так говорил. Нет, ну надо, да, частично спрягаешься тут, да, я понял, да, то есть так стоишь, да. Ну, как бы, да, официально, потому что, официальный болван, говорит, наоборот, да. Ну, да. Это не дороже денег стоит, все равно ты даже не знаешь, что такое, я не очень, вот, как бы, да, нет, это меня страхует, как бы, гипотетически, да пошел нафиг, это там за копейки, ну, вот я понял, ладно. Да. Нет, он много чего интересного узнал. Ты не шути так, потому что, да. Ты знаешь, что такое? Он тебя понял, корпорация, он тебя понял. Да. Ну, да. Нет. А, ну вот это так вот он говорил тебе так. Это как так? Нет, они себе вот это делали самое. А, нет, ну нам. То есть, что это значит? Сбор, ну вот это имеется в виду. Ты же не зарабатываешь, а деньги тратишь уже, да, я понял. А, ну вот это дело самое. Блин, я такой один, все помню. Ну, это, ну а куда деваться? Закредитован, да, понимаю. Это тоже профессия. Как, ну, ты так не думаешь, ты так не считаешь просто. Да. Ну, кстати, так оно и есть. Ну, неплохая профессия, да. Наверное. Но отрабатывать твои проблемы, потому что отрабатывать, ну, я понял, да. Вот так. Наверное, никто тебе не скажет это точно. Наверное, не знаю. Меня это не интересует, надо, да, монотонно говорить. Что, закрыл, что ли, вопросы? красота вот это есть. Раньше времени то, что я платил. Раньше времени. Смерть твоя пришла. Сейчас я везде понапихаю эту справку. Я там сварено. Надо теперь тонко щить. Так. Все, пора жить. Жить надо. В регионе жить. Все, прикинь. Прикинь, все, эпопея закончена. Теперь я почти что как не абстрактно изучить. Цифровое пение все-таки можно. Возможно, чуть-чуть. Бубражгой. Ну да. Ну просто для прикола все. Там на ходу сообразишь, кажется. Перед, важно. Что это делать? А, ну да. Моет не взять. Опять кучу заблокированного. Во, я же говорю, там целая толпа вылезла рядом. А так-то музыку слушать уморительно. В смысле, в школе музыку слушать. Где это? Я что ли идиот, ты понял? Вот это и было на самом деле. Вот это есть он. Да ну вас нафиг. Тупорылый Facebook. Меня это как бы раздражает. Такая тупость, блин. Ну нет. Ну понятно, да. Ну нет, это серьезно, там деньги замешаны. Жоптер. Что тебе надо было? Нормально, значит, ты делаешь все, да.
What did you learn that might be different from the president in this forum than others?
What did I learn? I liked when he answered about, you know, as far as, you know, why they don't necessarily cater to black people. He didn't say that in you know, verbatim, but you know, they know black people are their most loyal voting bloc, black women first and black men, but white people simply outnumber black people in a lot of places, so they can't really cater to black people and black issues. That's why I asked him how, you know, would the Democratic strategy differ if there was no electoral college, because the truth is they want to win elections and they don't think they can win elections catering specifically to a black agenda. So even though it's hard to accept that as a black man, I don't take it personal. I just look at it for what it is, and what it is politics.
Yeah, politics. Politics as usual, if you will.
Politics as usual, Jay-Z reference, okay.
You know. and it was blunt. And, you know, I emphasize this in telling my viewers, because your show has built credibility by just being really blunt. And if we're dealing with racism and racist terrorism and racism in the ballot box, and more of this for your analysis on the other side, the conversation with Obama about that measured approach in trying to deal and heal racism.
You discuss how you were frustrated with the constant need to soften for white folks' benefit the blunt truths about race in this country. Do you still feel the need to do that after the last 4 years we witnessed?
You need to be able to persuade some white folks who are not going to think like you. And you may want to say things exactly the way you want to say it, but they may not hear it.
Yikes.
The prophetic voice that you have, if you are a civil rights leader, if you're a Malcolm, if you're a Martin, is not going to be the same voice as if you're a politician.
Do you buy that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of fair. I think it's fair because everybody has a role to play. But it still bothers me, even as a politician, you should be able to call out, you know, systemic racism. You should be able to call out bigotry, you know, because I understand that they want to cater, you know, to the big white audience, but there is good white people out there too. That's why Democrats always win the popular vote, because it's black people, it's some brown people, and it's the good white people that are voting for Democrats as well. So I don't think it's a stretch or a reach to have to make a racist feel comfortable? Because that's what it feels like to me. Because nobody's worried about making me feel comfortable as a black man in this country, you know. And I always taught that, you know, when you're uncomfortable, that means that you're growing. So if I call out a white person for their racism or their bigotry and they're uncomfortable, good. Hopefully they're growing in that moment.
Yeah, you're talking about something that's a larger conversation of the fragility of the powerful, or what might be a white ruling class, and saying, wait, how does that predominate over a situation where people are being shot down and killed, unarmed, not doing anything? Right. How do we bridge that? And that brings us to the other thing you guys raised that's so important. I want to show this with context because, and Obama's written about it, right, in the book that you ask about this early period of his presidency, first year in office, an incident of incorrect, erroneous policing, where a Harvard scholar, Henry Louis Gates, was arrested in his own home, a black man, in Cambridge. Let's take a look at this exchange.
I write about the fact that in a press conference I'm asked about it, and I said, well, you know, I think the police probably acted stupidly. And that was treated with all kinds of controversy. My polling with white voters dropped drastically. I think today that would not have seemed as much of a controversial statement as it was viewed at the time, even though at the time I didn't think it was particularly controversial.
He didn't think it was controversial, but fascinating to have him say that what he said made him tank, according to the former president, with, quote, white voters. So let's just briefly look, because we get to do this in the Wayback Machine, what he actually said about the incident.
I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry. Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly in arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home.
Straightforward, and yet we have just a sampling of the controversy. There was the issues in the approval rating. There were people all over America, Charlemagne, demanding a, quote, apology for what we just heard there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you if you read the book, in the book he says that, that would have never happened, to Henry Louis Gates, basically, if Henry Louis Gates was white. And, my thing is, like, he should have been able to say that at the time. Like, why are you apologizing to the police? The police did act stupidly in that situation, So where was Henry Louis Gates' apology? Did the police have to apologize to him for making that mistake? Did anybody demand that the police apologize to Henry Louis Gates for acting stupidly, as President Obama says? So I think in situations like that, I don't see why you have to, bite your tongue. And he says in the book, he wished he would have said at the time, yeah, that would have never happened, if Henry Louis Gates was white. I don't see how we make progress if we're not speaking truth to power. We have to speak truth to power about these issues in order to keep pulling back that curtain. That's one thing that Donald Trump did. Donald Trump made us have to have these conversations, whether we wanted to have them or not. He made us have these uncomfortable conversations, about race in this country. And I think President Obama could have did that then.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.
Breaking news, President Trump taking questions. The president facing reporters for the first time since the election, saying he can't say if he'd concede, but if electors finalize Biden's win, he would leave the White House. Plus, President-elect Biden stressing safety while Trump encourages Americans to gather this holiday. New vaccine questions. The president tonight making the improbable claim a vaccine could be distributed next week. The FDA saying that's not true, while one of the top vaccine candidates will likely run additional tests amid concerns. Frontline workers saving lives amid astonishing new predictions about how many more might be lost before Christmas, with fears that travelers will deepen the crisis. Plus, reaction to a Supreme Court decision involving how many can worship together. To the rescue, the military's new mission stepping up to help hospitals out of rooms and resources in the heartland. The effort to feed families this Thanksgiving, long lines across the country, and a shocking new report, 1 in 6 without enough to eat. Black Friday's best deals in a shopping season like no other, the one simple thing you can do to get the best buys online. And thanking healthcare heroes, the outpouring of love and kindness, bringing smiles this holiday.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Kate Snow in for Lester tonight, and we begin with late-breaking news. President Trump continuing to insist he won the election, taking questions for the first time since the election and saying he is not ready to concede. But the president also pledging to leave the White House if, as expected, the Electoral College formalizes Joe Biden's victory, a constitutional requirement. Let's get right to Kelly O'Donnell at the White House.
Tonight, defiant and denying his own defeat, President Trump answered questions for the first time since Election Day.
I don't know what is going to happen. I know one thing, Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes.
Asked if he will concede more obstruction.
It's going to be a very hard thing to concede because we know there was massive fraud.
Pushed about whether he would vacate the White House January 20th if the electors finalize the Biden victory.
Certainly I will. Certainly I will.
The president's legal team has not shown fraud or irregularities that would overturn the results, but the president vented.
And the whole world is watching, and the whole world is laughing at our electoral process.
President Trump angry and lashing out minutes after he thanked overseas troops for their service. He criticized Joe Biden for forming a cabinet and would not publicly commit to attending the inauguration. Earlier today, Joe Biden followed a more traditional playbook. In a video message from Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden urged a small stay-at-home Thanksgiving because of COVID.
It's a personal sacrifice that each of our families can make and should make to save somebody else's life. But it's also a shared sacrifice for the whole country.
The president, who spent much of the holiday on the golf course, was also taking more swings on Twitter, again to impugn Joe Biden's victory and undermine election integrity. The president's anger boiled over at reporters.
Don't talk to, I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
And President Trump says he will go back on the campaign trail, committing to go to Georgia, where he will work on behalf of 2 Senate Republicans who are in runoff races that will determine the control of the Senate. The president also would not comment on whether he would run again himself in 2024, insisting that the 2020 race is not yet over, claiming he won with only hints of recognition that he knows his time here at the White House is nearly over. Kate?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House for us. Kelly, thank you. The president tonight also made a dramatic claim about the timeline for the distribution of a COVID vaccine, which was immediately contradicted by the agencies in charge. It comes as a new prediction finds the U.S. death toll could climb by another 60,000 in just a month. Tom Costello's in Washington tonight. Tom, what are you learning?
Yeah, Kate, the president said late today that vaccine distribution could begin next week. But both the FDA and the CDC say nothing's changed on the timeline. The FDA Advisory Committee doesn't even meet until December 10th. Distribution could begin after that. But COVID has dominated Thanksgiving 2020.
4, 3, 2, 1, let's have a parade!
Made all the more poignant by a raging pandemic, today's Macy's parade reflected the country's appreciation for countless frontline heroes, many of whom remain on the job today. warning that this Thanksgiving could create multiple super spreader events that will soon flood ERs and ICUs.
We're asking for sacrifice. We're asking you to stay at home.
The COVID statistics are jaw-dropping this Thanksgiving. 2,000 more deaths, the most since July. The national death toll, a stunning 263,000. Despite the pandemic, Flight Radar 24 has captured the busiest air travel days since March. Roughly 1 million passengers a day since last Friday, even as health experts plead with Americans not to travel.
I'm a little worried, but I'm going home and to quarantine myself for 14 days. So my Thanksgiving dinner has been canceled.
But some travelers say they simply can't stay locked up inside their homes anymore.
COVID is out there. You just have to be cautious on how you deal with it.
Even more Americans choosing to drive this week.
If you've traveled recently or you're going to convene with somebody that you don't live with, mask in their presence to the extent possible. Try not to gather around one dinner table.
In Denver, Mayor Michael Hancock has ignited a furious backlash amid allegations of hypocrisy. For weeks, he's encouraged people not to travel.
I'm asking, I'm urging, I'm pleading with everyone. Please stay home.
Even tweeting that message on Wednesday, just before he boarded a flight to Mississippi for Thanksgiving with his wife and daughter.
He told us we should not be seeing our family and should not be traveling for Thanksgiving, and then he goes behind our backs.
The mayor now apologizing, saying, "I humbly ask you to forgive decisions that are born of my heart and not my head." Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has opened the door to more mass gatherings after ruling New York's temporary ban on religious services is unconstitutional. Also tonight, AstraZeneca, the drug maker, is admitting mistakes in its drug trials for a COVID vaccine. Essentially, some volunteers got a dose that was too low, not intended to be that low. So now the company still says its vaccine is up to 90% effective, but the CEO now concedes they may have to have yet an additional trial. Kate?
Tom Costello, thanks. And let's get right to Dr. John Torres. Dr. John, what do you make of these new questions surrounding AstraZeneca and their vaccine?
Kate, this shows us that the vaccine vetting process is actually working. So what you're seeing here are the vaccine manufacturers being held accountable by outside experts, making sure all the information about the trials is released. And manufacturers and their vaccines undergo now, the more confidence and trust we can have that any approved vaccine will be both safe and effective. Kate?
Dr. John, thank you. This is a Thanksgiving like none other for healthcare workers, so many sacrificing their own holiday to help others. And as hospitals reach their breaking point, some patients are finding a lot to be thankful for. Gabe Gutierrez has more on that.
Tonight in hospitals across America, no break from the virus, but a flood of gratitude for those on the front lines.
I was finally discharged after 44 days. I am thankful to all the staff, nurses, PAs, and doctors who took care of me and made sure that I came home to my family.
I'm grateful for the new lease on life that I've received. COVID destroyed my lungs, and I was able to receive 2 new lungs and a transplant.
And as hospitals face staffing shortages this holiday season, there's more relief on the way.
Did you ever think you'd end up here in North Dakota?
Absolutely not. This is unforeseen.
This Thanksgiving, Captain Ron Golumbowski is among the Air Force nurses working in the COVID ICU at this hospital in Bismarck, North Dakota. He served multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, another kind of war.
It's always hard, but as members of the Department of Defense, we're tasked to fight all enemies, and that's whoever and wherever they may be, including this virus.
North Dakota's positivity rate is 11%, nearly 3 times what it was 3 months ago.
It takes 2 to 3 hours for local health officials to go through about 1,000 tests here. They do it each week, and right now it's taking 5 to 7 days to get results.
Air Force medical teams had previously been deployed to California and Texas.
The most rewarding part about being a nurse is seeing that patient walk out of the hospital.
On this holiday, 2nd Lieutenant Kathleen Alejandro is spending time away from her husband in Florida.
Day in and day out, we start seeing the severity and the news, of course, and everything going on in our nation. Just proud to be here to be able to answer that call.
Here are your gloves, and they will fit in there.
A deployment that's expected to last at least a month. No small sacrifice in a year where every day counts. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Bismarck, North Dakota.
And while so many are counting their blessings, a simple hot meal is increasingly out of reach for tens of millions of Americans. Morgan Chesky reports.
Hi. Happy Thanksgiving.
On a Thanksgiving made tougher by keeping many families apart, those who made it here faced a more pressing need.
This year, I mean, we've been holiday level busy since March.
Nationwide, 54 million Americans don't have access to sufficient food. In Texas, the long lines tell a story not lost on fifth grader Orion Jean, who organized a campaign to donate 100,000 meals by Thanksgiving.
Looking at all of the people that don't have jobs or don't have access to things like food and clothes and all of these essential things that we sometimes take for granted on Thanksgiving Day. Really sad, because one of the most memorable parts about Thanksgiving is the Thanksgiving meal. So knowing that I can help in just the smallest way makes me want to.
At the Christian Center of Fort Worth, a negative COVID test came before anyone could help hand out food.
How does it feel to be able to give back to these folks?
I feel honored. I feel blessed that I'm able to give back to them.
Blessings went both ways. Parrish Jarningan lost his job to the pandemic.
Parrish, if you didn't have a place like this today,
I wouldn't know where I'd be. I'm just being honest.
Down the road, Orion hasn't hit his 100,000 meal goal yet, but says the mission is about more than food.
Kindness matters, and it's what we need the most right now. So go spread an act of kindness. It can make the world a better place.
Amen.
Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, thank you.
Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Dallas.
With millions out of work, it could take decades for an economic rebound, with some jobs disappearing altogether. Jake Ward has more.
Just up the road from where she grew up in San Francisco, Karen McDonald owns Studio Red's hair salon.
I've been doing this for 35 years, but I was going to be a nurse. I worked for doctors.
So you're someone who likes being with people.
Of service, yeah.
But the service industry is hurting right now. According to job site Glassdoor, openings for chefs are down 56%, valets 51%, and stylists like McDonald 50%. Business is less than half what it was last year, and yet McDonald also has to pay for protective gear and plexiglass.
With losing half of my tickets, you know, no retail, whatever, just a ballpark estimate, I mean, I've got to be down at least 15, 20, 25 in the hole.
Healthcare jobs have suffered, especially audiologists and opticians. These Bay Area massage therapists were hit hard.
I'm on the phone negotiating with landlords, with car payments, with, okay, you know, back to my college days. Let's do that budget. What do we really need to eat?
The pandemic is wiping out academic positions, too. The question is whether we can come back from this.
what I'm afraid of is today, with big job losses in leisure and hospitality, retail and low-skilled services, that many Americans will just leave the labor force completely.
Glassdoor has found increased job openings in hospitals and warehouses, but the long-term solution may be education and training programs, because skilled work is plentiful. As for McDonald, she is not giving up yet.
But if it continues for another year, I mean, it's not a business, it's a hobby.
Jake Ward, NBC News, San Francisco.
Now to the search for solutions and what one famous British city is doing to get its COVID outbreak under control. Could it work here? Willem Marks reports.
Tonight, a new kind of urban warfare. Thousands of British troops in a major city hit hard by COVID.
When we personally see that people have lost family members to COVID and they explain to us why they're there getting tested, it does hit home a little bit.
In addition to a second lockdown that's emptied the streets of Liverpool, birthplace to the Beatles, officials have sent in soldiers with enough COVID tests to offer them to every citizen every 5 days. Even setting up testing stations in this soccer stadium.
I'm going to hand you a swab.
Emily Wang getting her results in just 20 minutes.
So my test result was negative, so that's good news.
The mayor hopes this pilot program of rapid citywide testing will radically reduce the infection rate.
I want it to work. We need it to work so that we can protect people's lives, but also protect the livelihoods of people as well.
The British government's committed tens of billions of dollars to what it calls a moonshot testing strategy, the Liverpool experiment part of that effort. And epidemiologists say this approach could be copied in COVID hotspots in the US.
When there are areas with a large proportion of people infected, then we can actually implement those type of things.
But all of this is incredibly expensive. British government plans to expand this effort to other cities comes with a price tag that one scientist told me was eye-popping. Kate?
We're back in. Back in 60 seconds with the best Black Friday deals and the one thing you can do to save more online. We're back with the price you pay. Black Friday has already begun virtually with online sales expected to surge. We've got the surprisingly simple thing you can do to save big this year. Here's Vicki Nguyen.
A crush of bargain hunters scrambling, a sight all too common on Black Friday, but not this year. Competing for your clicks earlier than ever, stores now offering Black Friday sales all month long during Cyber November and some online-only deals too. Black Friday 2020 will see record online shopping traffic with nearly 70% of shoppers saying the recent surge in COVID cases has prompted them to purchase more from home. A third say they'll complete their holiday shopping online by Black Friday.
A great way to maximize your savings is to install at least one browser extension because they help you save.
Think of it as a free tool on your computer that's constantly searching for coupons and discounts on items you're shopping for. And often you can layer the deals on top of store sales. Some extensions search for coupons, others alert you to cash back on your purchases.
Browser extensions are a great way to compound your savings opportunities as you're shopping.
When you find an extension you want to try, just download it to your computer. Then shop like you normally would. When it's time to check out, the extension will alert you to additional discounts. Make a list of what you want. While you may not have to wait in Black Friday lines, popular gifts can still sell out fast, with millions more poised to point and click this holiday. Vicki Nguyen, NBC News.
Still to come, the surprise phone call from a young artist's hero. Now to the call of a lifetime for a 14-year-old artist in California. After Tyler Gordon's portrait of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris went viral, he got a surprise phone call from Harris herself.
You know, it's a very special thing to be an artist like you are. It's a gift you give so many people. People you'll never meet are going to be touched by the work you do.
Tyler, who is partially hearing impaired and has a stutter, said he painted Harris because she broke barriers the same way he does every day. That teen was from near Harris's hometown of Oakland, California, but she also has ties overseas, as does President-elect Joe Biden. With more, here's Keir Simmons.
Irish eyes are smiling tonight. In Ireland, President-elect Biden is known simply as Cousin Joe. One of those cousins, Joe Blewett, is a plumber. His campaign slogan, Joe Biden for the White House, Joe Blewett for your house.
It will be lovely there to be there to mark the inauguration in January.
And Cousin Joe has never forgotten where his ancestors came from.
During the terrible potato famine, my great-great-great-grandfather got on a ship in 1842.
What a journey. As the President-elect's favourite Irish poet says, sometimes hope and history rhyme.
He has an appreciation for immigrants and people who have had to leave their country in search of a better life.
Joe Biden will join a long list of Irish-American presidents, 23 from this one Emerald Isle. Kamala Harris is the first black and Asian-American vice president.
My mother, Shamala Gopalan Harris, was always in our hearts. When she came here from India at the age of 19.
Over the years, she's been home to visit her ancestral village, 8,000 miles from Washington.
I knew that they were going to win.
Immigrants from around the world, helping shape the future president and vice president. Now that's the American dream. Keir Simmons, NBC News, London.
When we come back, serving up gratitude to frontline heroes. Before we go this Thanksgiving night, a special tribute to the inspiring frontline healthcare workers away from their own homes today so they can take care of our loved ones. Here's Blaine Alexander.
There's no question this is not the Thanksgiving we are used to. But what remains? Gratitude. And this year, for our healthcare workers, it comes in droves.
Thank you so much for bringing this.
It's the home-cooked meal from one ICU worker to the next.
Looking at what are the little simple contributions we can make to bring joy to people, to make it seem a little bit more normal, to make it seem familiar, and just to take a little of that stress off.
It's the New Mexico Cafe, still reeling from its own COVID hit and forced layoffs, now spending the day making hot meals for those on the front lines.
I wish we could do more. I wish I could do everything for them and give them a hot meal every day.
It's the thank you letters reminding nurses in South Dakota just how much they are appreciated, written by the students following in their footsteps. You are such role models. You are the heroes of our generation.
I think we just have to look for the bright moments and the times of caring and giving. We will get through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully these little acts will let people know that they're cared about.
A reminder, perhaps when we need it the most, there are still reasons to give thanks. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
A huge thank you to all of our frontline heroes. Lester Holt will be back with you tomorrow. I'm Kate Snow. For all of us here at NBC News, stay safe and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
Парфюмерный супермаркет «Золотое яблоко». Скидки до 70%. Это Black Friday. Самый большой ассортимент и самые большие скидки в нашем новом приложении. Подробности на сайте goldapple.ru.
Of course, because we're all spending much more time than we're used to in them. So who's giving the best deal for stuff for the house?
So Simple Human, they do all the like touchless, soap dispensers and hand sanitizing devices and the garbage cans. Everyone wants touchless right now. They have 20% off site-wide. That is a great deal. We never really see site-wide deals from them, so that's an awesome one. And then Wayfair is doing up to 80% off rugs and 70% off living room furniture, or living room seating. So that's an awesome way to update your room. I actually just ordered a couple rugs from them to update my house. When you put a new rug in, all of a sudden, like the whole room changes. So that's a great way to quickly make a big impact in your space. If you're sick of looking at the same stuff, get a giant rug, and it's like you have a new house.
We're all sick of it, aren't we?
We should also talk about toys. This is when I was a kid, around the time where I got to start making up my little list. So what should shoppers be looking for with toys to put under the tree for their kids, and who's giving the best deals? So a big one is the bike sale at Target. So bikes sold out. At the beginning, like the pandemic purchasing, everyone was buying bikes. A lot of people are still waiting to get them. Target has kids' bikes for as low as $39. So that's a huge one. Walmart is doing 40% off on the brands that kids want year after year. We're talking like Barbie, Hot Wheels. So those toys that are always in demand, 40% off at Walmart. And then Kohl's is doing 30% off Legos. And Legos don't often go on sale, so it's a great deal. And Target is doing 40% off Lego sets. So if your kids are into Legos, or you know any kids who are into Legos, this is the time to buy them. Those are really awesome deals. All right, Jen, thank you for all that
I'm like
advice.
taking notes as you're giving this advice. Great tips. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too. Now, a quick note for parents about toys this year. A consumer watchdog group just released a list of the most dangerous toys. Coming in at number 1, a Star Wars darksaber sword. The group is warning of potential blunt force and eye injuries. The next one is Lots of Love Babies Minis with a warning against choking. Also making the list, the original boomerang stunt UFO. They say it can cause lacerations and propeller-related injuries, and sci-fi slime that can cause chemical-related issues. Which all of this sounds like the last thing we need in 2020, so let's watch out for those toys. All right, now for many, today is the first day Christmas decorations can start to go up, though mine went up a while ago.
Yeah, this year some families have broken that tradition and started early, turning their homes into colorful winter wonderlands. NBC News correspondent Kerry Sanders brings us that story.
Well, good morning, guys. Because of COVID, our world may seem gray. Life is colorless because of the restrictions we're living under, like social distancing. But there are those who want to make this a colorful time of year, and in some cases, they began doing this as far back as Halloween.
In our year of the pandemic, this has become a welcome distraction.
We're making a tree.
For most families who celebrate Christmas, there's an unofficial timetable that says no Christmas trees until today, the day after Thanksgiving. But that is just another rule that does not apply in 2020.
I myself have been wanting Christmas since June, and I know my neighbors have had lights up since before Halloween. I think it's just really been a year that's hit a lot of us hard.
You want to hang it on the tree? The Constantine family in Texas began decorating the day after Halloween, admittedly going overboard this year. 4 big trees, 3 little ones. And then there's this year's elf on the shelf in a quarantine box.
Here she is.
Why do I get the idea that this should go into a time capsule and maybe be open 50 years from now?
100%. I think a lot of things from this year needs to go in a time capsule. But, you know, the elf in the quarantine box, for sure.
And all over social media, it's already a sea of red, white, and green. If you're yet to get a freshly cut tree, fair warning, the rush began a week ago.
Honestly, I'm not sure that any of us could have predicted that it would be this busy. I mean, this last weekend was almost like a record weekend for all of us.
At the Beehive shop in Centerville, Pennsylvania, it was still 90 degrees outside when the Christmas requests began.
Since August, people were asking when the Christmas merchandise would be out.
In Miami's Coconut Grove, the popular light show on Lime Court is back with one new rule: social distancing.
2020 has been nothing but disease and disappointment. The things that people look forward to aren't happening.
So we need this now?
Everybody needs something they can be happy about.
What's now spreading across America is finally something we want to see spread: holiday spirit.
Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
So if this is your weekend to begin decorating, remember, what may make you feel good will also help spread the joy. And boy, do we need it in 2020. Guys, back to you.
Thank you. I remember I did a story in March about how everyone was decorating for Christmas because of the pandemic, but I was actually convinced it was just people who had not taken down their decorations yet. We're using it as an excuse. So
There was that whole, the Hallmark movies started early and everything, just to kind of give us all a little bit of holiday cheer. And you know what, that was a nice way to turn it around after we scared everyone about how the toys are going to go.
There are pros and cons to Christmas. So. Yeah. All right, that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news, of course, continues right now.
Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, not so fast. Drug maker AstraZeneca facing new questions about the efficacy of its coronavirus vaccine. What that could mean for the timeline of its release as infection rates reach another sobering milestone. Defiant, President Trump taking questions from reporters for the first time since the election. Why he says it's going to be hard to concede even if Joe Biden is formally certified as the winner. Steals and deals. It's Black Friday, but things are looking a little bit different this year. The major changes you can expect in the era of COVID. And Dog Day afternoon, the pandemic not stopping the canine extravaganza that is the National Dog Show. We'll introduce you to the pup who took the top honor of Best in Show. Joe, between the dog show and the Thanksgiving Day parade, it was nice to feel like some things were still sort of the same this year.
And also on Friday morning, everyone seems to be in a food coma, which is also very normal.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. We all are here.
Exactly.
We've come to determine. Yeah, exactly. But we will get into all those things that we saw on TV yesterday, as well as Black Friday. But we're going to begin with the coronavirus pandemic. Hospitals in crisis and healthcare workers are at the brink.
Infections are now nearing 13 million here in the U.S. The CDC says that for every case that's counted, 8 are uncounted, with most people recovering at home. The death toll is climbing by the hour, now topping 263 1,000. As for vaccines, AstraZeneca and Oxford University are facing tough questions after acknowledging a manufacturing error that led to dosing inconsistencies with their coronavirus vaccine. In a statement to NBC News, AstraZeneca says that it's continuing to investigate the dosing regimen.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-Minute Papers with Károly Zsolnai Fehér. This is going to be a weird, non-traditional episode, not the usual 2-Minute Papers. Hope you'll enjoy it, and if you finish the video, please let me know in the comments what you think about it. So let's start. Life lessons I learned from AI research. Number 1, you need an objective. Before we start training a neural network to perform, for instance, image classification, we need a bunch of training data. This we can feed to this neural network, telling that this image depicts a cat, and this one is not a cat, but an ostrich. We also need to specify a loss function. This is super important, because this loss function is used to make sure that the neural network trains itself in a way that its predictions will be similar to the training data it is being fed. It is also referred to as an objective or objective function to indicate that we know precisely what we are looking for, and that's what the neural network should do. This is a way to measure how the neural network is progressing, and without this, it is useless. Similarly, in another learning problem, we can specify an objective for this ant, which in this case is to be able to traverse as far from a starting point as possible, and it reconfigures its body type and movement to be able to score high on our objective. And this leads us to the second lesson. A change in the objective changes the strategy required to achieve it. Look here. In a different problem definition, we can specify a different objective, for instance, a different terrain, and you see that if we wish to succeed here, we need a vastly different body type. Form follows function. And in this other case, the objective is to be able to traverse efficiently, but with minimal material use for the legs. The solution, again, changes accordingly to the objective. New objectives require new strategies. Number 3. If the objective was wrong, do not worry and aim again. Have a look at AlphaGo. This is DeepMind's algorithm that was able to defeat some of the best players in the world in the game of Go. This was a highly non-trivial achievement, as the space of possible moves is so stupendously large that it is impossible to evaluate every move. Instead, it tries to aggressively focus on a smaller number of possible moves and tries to simulate the result of these moves. If the move leads to an improvement in our position, it is a good one. If not, it should be avoided. Sounds simple, right? Well, we have an objective, that's great, but initially it has a really bad predictor, which means that it is really bad at judging which move is good and which one isn't. However, over time, it refines its predictor, and these estimations improve further and further. In the end, by only taking a brief look at the state of the game, it can predict with a high confidence whether it is going to win or not. Initially, we have an objective, but how do we know whether it is a good one? Well, we try to get there and then evaluate our position. We may find that we got nowhere with this. What most people do is abort the program. Quit the game. Give up. It's over. No, don't. Quit the game. Got nowhere with this. What most people do is abort the program. Quit the game. Give up. It's over. No, don't despair. It's not over. This is the early stage of teaching an AI, and this is the time where we can improve our predictor and pick our next objective more wisely. Over time, you'll find the ideas that don't work, and not only that, you'll find out why they don't work. Do not worry and aim. Aim again. And this leads us to lesson number 4. Zoom out and evaluate. This is exactly what DeepMind's amazing DeepQ learning algorithm does that took the world by storm, as it was able to play Atari Breakout on a superhuman level just by looking at the pixels of the game. This algorithm ran in 2 phases, where phase 1 is collecting experiences, and phase 2 was called Experience Replay. This is where the AI stops and reflects upon these experiences. Zooming out and evaluating is immensely important because, after all, this is where the real learning happens. So, every now and then, zoom out and evaluate. And while we are here, I can simply not resist adding 2 more lessons I learned from other scientific disciplines. So, lesson number 5, if you find something that works, hold on to it. This is exactly what Metropolis Light Transport does, which is a light simulation algorithm that is able to create beautiful images even for extremely difficult problems where it is challenging to find where the light is. However, when it finally finds something, it makes sure not to forget about it and explore nearby light paths. It works like a charm for difficult light transport situations and can create absolutely beautiful images for even the hardest virtual scenes. Seek the light and hold on to it. And whenever you feel that you are still not making progress, think about the following. Lesson number 6. As long as you keep moving, you'll keep progressing. Take a look at this random walk. A random walk is a succession of steps in completely random directions. This walk is completely lack of direction, just as a drunkard that tries to find home. However, get this. A mathematical theorem says that after n steps, the expected distance from where we've started is proportional to the square root of n. This is huge. What this means is that, for instance, if we took 4 completely random steps, we are expected to be 2 units of distance away from where we've started. That's progress. If we take 100 steps, even then, we can expect to be around 10 units of distance away from the starting point. This concept works even if our predictor is completely haywire and we choose our objectives like a drunkard. Now I think that's a lesson worth sharing. To recap, distance. Take a look at this random walk. A random walk is a success direction, just as a drunkard that tries to find home. However, get this. A mathematical theorem says that after n steps, the expected distance from where we've started is proportional to the square root of n. This is huge. What this means is that, for instance, if we took 4 completely random steps, we are expected to be 2 units of distance away from where we've started. That's progress. If we take 100 steps, even then, we can expect to be around 10 units of distance away from the starting point. This concept works even if our predictor is completely haywire and we choose our objectives like a drunkard. Now I think that's a lesson worth sharing. To recap, you need an objective. It can be anything, so long as you keep moving, you'll progress. If you have achieved it and it ended up not being what you were looking for, don't stop. Zoom out and reflect. This will help you to improve your predictor, and you will be able to recalibrate and aim again at something more meaningful. Now, aim and find a new objective. When you have a new objective, your strategy needs to change to be able to achieve it. Finally, if you find something desirable, hold on to it and explore more in this direction. Seek the light. Of course, you don't have to live your life this way, but I think these are interesting, mathematically motivated lessons that are worth your life or more. Finally, if you find something desirable, hold on to it and explore more in this direction. Seek the light. Of course, you don't have to live your life this way, but I think these are interesting, mathematically motivated lessons that are worth showing to you. After all, this series is not only meant to inform, but to inspire you to get out there and create. It always feels absolutely amazing getting these kind messages from you fellow scholars. Some of you said that the series has changed your life in a positive way. I am really out of words and I'm honored to be able to make these videos for you fellow scholars. Let me know in the comments whether you enjoyed this episode, and please keep the kind messages coming, they really make my day. Thanks for watching and for your generous support, and I'll see you next time.
Получите полное представление о проектах в реальном времени. Создавайте проекты.
Себя покажу. Смотри, а что мне на себя посмотреть? Я что, себя не видел, что ли? Чего вы себя пристали ко мне, а? Нет, тут можно только сказать, что да, тут много чего можно сказать, это ваши дела написать. Все. Ой, вот это вот. Зачем мне это говорить-то надо было? Сколько на улице? Наверное, уже 10 может быть. Можно даже. Так, хорошо, знаешь, как ты школу. Болдорика, Охлейка, Болдорика. И это заморозка. Нет, такого не бывает, это шутка бывает. Она учится, это самое главное. Тут вообще это есть, нет? Так, что там это самое? Там гуляри. Лё гуляри тогда уж. Потом сейчас нормально снова, нормально гуляри. Гулярия. А, что, серьезно, что ты сейчас втыкаешься, да? Не спеши. Нормально. Видишь, тут не подъядено. Как-то, да, нет, есть.
Thank you.